The end of the year is upon us, and with that, another Level 30 Games Top 5. 2020 has been a sucky year for a ton of reasons, but video games were certainly not one of them. We started the year with Switch, PS4, and Xbox being current gen, and end the year with officially having them listed as last gen. Actually, where does the Switch fall? I really have no idea. Across all three platforms, we had sequels, remakes, swan songs, entries in long dormant franchises. There was certainly no shortage of things to play this year. And without further ado, here are my top 5 games of 2020. Rounding out the bottom of the list is a masterful remake of a critically acclaimed classic, Final Fantasy VII Remake. Now, I was new to the game as I tried playing the original long after its release and never found that it held up as well as the hype that surrounds it would suggest. There is something about the 32-bit era visually that doesn't stand the test of time, so being able to jump into a visually spectacular version of the game was something I was looking forward to. The gorgeous visuals and beautiful voice acting really helped draw me into the story, but this game is not just eye candy. The combat system was a ton of fun, the characters are well fleshed out in a cheesy and fun way, and I can't wait for the second part of this game to come out regardless of how long it takes Square Enix to make it.
Fate. No, you don't! Not when I'm working! I promise, you will regret this.
The sector in which you stand has been condemned.
Mario RPGs have had a storied history, and it makes it even harder that they knocked it out of the park with Super Mario RPG on the Super Nintendo. When Paper Mario came to life, it continued that legacy in a new direction, but arguably has been getting worse and worse with each new release. I'm happy to say that as a fan of the series, Paper Mario: The Origami King is an excellent addition to the series and comes in at number 4 on my list. With excellent, genuinely funny writing, adorable and hilarious animation, and a pretty kickin' soundtrack, this adventure is well worth your time. The combat system is interesting even if it does feel a little worn out by the story's conclusion, and the ending is a little underwhelming as well compared to the rest of the highs that the storytelling hits. That said, it's a great addition to the series and trends the franchise in the right direction. Talk about the right game at the right time. When I think back to March of this year, I think of two things: quarantine and Animal Crossing. This game launched itself into the zeitgeist stratosphere as a means of escape and finding ways to engage in social interaction from the comfort of your own living room. With a slow and methodically steady progression system, Animal Crossing New Horizons builds on the franchise mainstays while adding some modern popular game mechanics such as crafting and terraforming. After logging over 200 hours of playtime, it continues to be a game I spend 20 to 30 minutes a day with, as Nintendo has been great at adding seasonal items and events monthly. Chatting with animal friends, buying interesting items and outfits, and tweaking my island to perfection has been an escape that I'll continue to take each and every day. The relaxing, cute, and play-at-your-pace style of game is perfect for our crazy year and something unique compared to almost every other game out there now. My runner-up for Game of the Year is quite a surprise even for me. Now, I'm not the biggest fan of open-world games, but man, does this game do a lot of things right. My runner-up for Game of the Year is Ghost of Tsushima. Ghost of Tsushima takes the open-world formula we all love and damn near perfects it. I'll be honest and say that it doesn't reinvent many wheels in this regard. You still have camps to raid, objects to track down, shrines to find, foxes and birds to follow, fog of war on the map to reveal, and haikus to write. What I like so much about how Ghost of Tsushima implements these things is that they are very natural and organic to your progression through the story. There are optional quests that follow a side character, as each major member of Jin's band of warriors has their own backstory, allowing these characters to have more depth than your average NPCs. This gave the weight needed to build them up and made their presence in the main campaign story more meaningful. A story of which, to its credit, I was very much interested in. You play as Jin, a samurai who was raised on the moral grounds of integrity and honor, but can only seem to progress through his objective of ridding the island of Tsushima of the invading Mongols by turning to the dark side of sorts. Stealth, fighting, and killing without honor, as well as lying and using deceit. These are things that go against his samurai upbringing as he struggles with some family issues alongside fighting a war. His personal journey weaves into the overarching storyline, which I found incredibly engaging. The game is beautiful and audibly immersive as well, bouncing between both tranquility and intense battles seamlessly, and playing with a Japanese voice track really added to the immersion. I never expected to put in 60 to 70 hours of time with this game, but I'm so glad that I did. A journey in every sense of the word that was as much fun to play as it was emotionally challenging. My game of the year for 2020 is The Last of Us Part 2. A sequel to a game that never really asked for a sequel is a hard sell, especially since the first game is held in such high regard. Its ending in particular is one with weight and uncertainty, and even when the credits rolled, it sat with you. For me, stories with a perfect ending that spawn a continuation of that story feel shallow, like a cash grab, and more often than not, that's what happens. While I expected more time with these characters in deeper and more emotional ways, character depth being a hallmark of a Naughty Dog game, I never once expected the story in front of me to unfold like it did. Once it ditched those unnecessary ladder and pallet puzzle mechanics from the first game, almost all of the other gameplay elements were left intact, but much more refined. It is the standard third-person action shooter cover stealth game, but we all know the bread and butter behind any Naughty Dog game is the story. And the story here, and let me preface this by saying that it comes from a filmmaker and a writer, holy shit. I really don't want to spoil anything here, and I won't, but the split perspectives with a pseudo time jump really created this perfect balanced tale of which the emotional highs and lows for me were all over the place in the best possible way. I yelled at the TV when I was scared. I screamed when I was close to death in a tight situation. With no shame at all, I can say I cried because I was shocked and saddened. Hell, I cried because there were moments of pure joy and happiness. I was angry with being forced to choose and do things that my morals would fight back against, and then the game pushed you even further and refused to relent. A while back, I made an essay on the Shadow of the Colossus that deals with moral ambiguity, and The Last of Us Part 2 forces you to visit a nook and cranny of that moral spectrum throughout its story. I think it's easy to throw hate on the game if it left you disappointed or you didn't care for the ending, but I also think then that you're missing the point. This game didn't have to exist in the first place, and the fact that it does makes me thankful. And to the writers and artists behind it, I'm thankful as well, because to feel something this complex is such a drastic departure from cliched story tropes used to push you through gameplay. This game is an experience that challenges you more in its story than its gameplay, and in that way it elevates the notion of what video games as a medium can accomplish. For all these reasons, The Last of Us Part 2 is my game of the year.
And I believe, 'cause I can see our future days, days of you and me.
Okay, so that's the bow on 2020 for Level 30 Games. Let us know what games are in your top 5 for the year in the comments below. We have plenty in the pipeline to look forward to with reviews, podcasts, episodes of Press Start, and more all on the way. Thank you for joining us throughout the year on this channel through our videos and video comments. They really help us feel like we've got a small little community here. Hope you enjoyed this video. Like and subscribe if you did, and I'll see you next year.
All this and crooked hearts.